Welcome everyone to the Urantia book. If you are a seeker of truth, this book is it. I've never found anything on the planet that is more complete, more replete, and not only that, but more uplifting. So this helps not only with our own individual ascension, but it also helps usher in something called the era of light and life, or at least describes that that is possible. And not only is it possible, but that is the normal occurrence on an evolutionary planet of time and space. Our planet is not normal. We went into a rebellion very early on because our spiritual leaders chose darkness over light. And it breaks that down and explains it. But this part, the Golden Ages, is about what this is like when a planet begins to have peace on Earth. So thanks to Rose for suggesting this paper. We're on page 624, The Golden Ages. Please like and subscribe because we go deep on the Urantia book here. The Golden Ages. During this age of light and life, the world increasingly prospers under the fatherly rule of the planetary sovereign. And remember, our sovereign went into rebellion, so we're not prospering under that. In fact, he's undermining things by sowing fear, division, and that, because this is all he has, is this world. Doesn't have a soul anymore. By this time, the worlds are progressing under the momentum of one language, which means the purpose of language is communication. So if you have one language, then you can communicate your feelings better to one another. It doesn't mean that you can't have the other languages, but there's just one officially recognized, which is happening with our English language. It just took us very long to, get to that level. One religion, which is the fatherhood of God and the son and daughtership of all humans. You're free to do that religion however you want. This is about unity, not uniformity. If you want to do a yarmulke, that's good. If you want to do a rosary bead, whatever you feel is going to help you reach God, that's your personal choice. But we all are recognizing that we're all brothers and sisters under the same God, okay? And that way you won't have your various holy wars and that division based on religion. And on normal spheres, one race. So this is not a normal sphere, what we have right now. The perspective of the Urantia book is that the multicolored races are important early on in a planet's evolution because that fosters this tribalism and this competition amongst the races, which is helpful for evolution of the beings. Eventually, though, those races, under the direction of a planetary sovereign, are supposed to amalgamate together because each one brings a special genetic aspect to the table, to the full thing. That did not happen on our world. But it goes on to point out, even though you missed the boat on that and your planetary prince purposely didn't do that, because the racial tensions will help keep them in power, because we're all going to have to buy weapons to protect ourselves. All this warring amongst the races, like if you see what's happening in your Middle East or anywhere in the world, even though we didn't do that and our planetary prince undermined that plan, we can still achieve light and life with multicolored races. So we don't have to try to undergo some sort of, racial thing. But that's what happens on a normal world, and it's not about destroying the beings, it's about amalgamating them. Okay, so this is a positive aspect. This is the antidote for racism because the God is no respecter of persons, the Urantia book points out. So no matter what race somebody is, they still can have that deep connection with God. God doesn't say, oh, well, you're this race, so I'm going to respect you more. So that also, they say, there is no pure line races left on the entire planet. So any of your pure race theorists, your Nazi, or whatever, any of that type of blood tribe garbage stuff that thinks that they're better because they have one specific race, this is saying, dude, there's not even a pure line race left. You've all been amalgamated in a certain respect, okay? But you just haven't been to the point of this respect. But it's okay. You just have to work extra hard on getting your peace mentality together. But it says, this age is not perfect. These worlds still have well-appointed hospitals, homes for the care of the sick. There still remain the problems of caring for accidental injuries in the inescapable infirmaries attendant upon the decrepitude of old age and the disorders of senility. Disease has not been entirely vanquished, neither have the earth animals been subdued in perfection, but such worlds are like paradise in comparison with the early times of primitive man during the pre-planetary prince age. Okay, so we're not even close to having paradise here. You would instinctively describe such a realm, could you be suddenly transported to this planet in this stage of development, as heaven on earth, even though they still have various problems, right? It's not actual heaven, it's heaven on earth. Human government in the conduct of material affairs continues to function throughout this age of relative progress and perfection. The public activities of world in this first stage of light and life, which I recently visited, were financed by the tithing technique. Every adult worker and all able-bodied citizens worked at something. So you can see they still have money and taxes, so it's not like this becomes some sort of like spiritual la-la land, right? Paid 10% of their income to increase the public treasury, and it was dispersed as follows. Man complicates, God simplifies. Look at how simple that is. Everybody just has 10%, not 1,000,001 different taxes or anything like that. And all of the beings, all the able-bodied ones, worked at something. We could have that on this planet, but it requires the right and the left to do something that they don't like to do, and that is to merge their ideologies. You see, the right, the beings on the right wing of the political spectrum, they look at your homeless encampments and things, and they want to take this hard-nosed line of we should bulldoze the homeless encampments. They're, ruining the streets, and they're doing drugs. They're creating victims because they need to get drug money. And they're right about that, but the left wing is saying, well, geez, these are real people. That's all they have is that homeless encampment. You go through and bulldoze that, and then what are you going to do? That's all they have. You have to think of their perspective. But if you combine both of those perspectives, then you will find a unity there. And what that means is that, we have to do social programs like providing insurance for people and guaranteeing everyone a job, okay? That way that it's not this confusion about how you get your job. That doesn't mean that you have to stay in that job. You can have mobility. You can choose to, learn a different trade or do something like that, but you have at least that one job to fall back on. But the right wing is going to say, ooh, socialism, that's a dirty word. Because the forces of evil have programmed them that is a dirty word, okay? And they point out the flaws of it, and they'll say, well, look what happened in this XYZ country that practiced socialism, and then, they had authoritarian types of things. So that's where they're coming from, right? But you can't swing too far when you're approaching these issues. And if you just accept the fact, we're going to give them this thing, but what the left wing needs to do is understand that even if you give them all this, some of them are so lost that they're not going to take the help. They're not going to do the job, even if you give it to them. And then in that case, then you have to do enforcement. It is illegal to not work on your job, okay? So then you're taking both the right-wing perspective and the left. Once you give them everything and they still don't take it, then you can go through and say, and intern them, right? Or come up with whatever legal system that you want to come up with that is, getting them off of the street, so we don't have these issues of these people, right? But it's still being sympathetic. And that is just a really quick aside about the importance of finding, and again, the forces of evil will spread these ideologies apart on the political spectrum, and they will, because they know what our mentalities are like. They know that what our personality types are like, and that if there's two major personality types, then they're going to spread them across the political spectrum to keep various tensions, divisions, gridlocks in all of your government. And just another brief one-liner, politics should have no place in government. Government should just be about facts, and then using those facts in order to usher in the greatest good for the most. 3% was expended in the promotion of truth, science, education, and philosophy. You see where their minds are at? That's what they're spending their taxes on. 3% were devoted to beauty, play, social leisure, and art. 3% were dedicated to goodness, social service, altruism, and religion. 1% was assigned to the insurance reserves against the risk of incapacity for labor resultant from accident, disease, old age, or unpreventable disasters. Now here, this next line is one of the most important parts. The natural resources of this planet were administered as social possessions, community property. So you don't have some oil baron sitting on top of a tap of black gold saying, this is mine, all for me, I'm going to profit, while everybody else is struggling and suffering in the street. We could easily do Medicare for all. If all of these possessions, just because of the fact that we live on this planet, they're ours. All the diamonds are ours, all the gold is ours. No more blood diamonds, no more any of that hoarding mentality that the forces of evil foster and encourage through generation after generation after generation. And now we're insane. Okay? But not us. Not us. We are awakening. On this world, the highest honor conferred upon a citizen was the order of supreme service. See? Service mentality, not Forbes 500, being the only degree of recognition ever to be granted in the Urantia temple, which is a spiritual temple on the planet. This recognition was bestowed upon those who had long distinguished themselves in some phase of supermaterial discovery or planetary social service. See how that is the reoccurring theme here. Sharing, all of that type of stuff. But it's not to the point where you allow people to take advantage of it. See, you have to have that stopping point. We have the rules, we have the laws that you're not supposed to tent in the cities, but we don't enforce them. And rightfully so, because what are you going to do with that? You know, you're not giving them any other. These people are, left out. They're chewed up and spit out by society. And so you have to have some sort of compassion when dealing with that. Okay, the majority of social administrative posts were held jointly by men and women. Most of the teaching was also done jointly. Likewise, all judicial trusts were discharged by similar associated couples. Again, the equality of men and women in understanding that each one brings something unique to the table. And when they team up, they can create better administrators. We had women as property for thousands of years on this planet. And many cultures still consider them the property. We had the women's liberation movement in the United States and around other parts of the world. But then again, humans take it too far, and it's swung to the point where many of the women now want to be the dominant ones. But remember, it's about equality. Both of the sexes are equal. It shouldn't be one being the dominant over the other. On these superb worlds, the childbearing period is not greatly prolonged. It is not best for too many years to intervene between the ages of a family of children. When close together in age, children are able to contribute much more to their mutual training. On these worlds, they are magnificently trained by the competitive systems of keen striving in the advanced domains of division, of diverse achievement in the mastery of truth, beauty, and goodness. That is what they're training them for. Not how can you stab your partner in the back and rise up the corporate ladder. Also, see, this is this practical type of information, right? It's just saying this is practical when you have them close to age. So this book is good about giving you not just these far-off concepts, but also practicality. Never fear, but that even such glorified spheres present plenty of evil, real and potential, which is stimulative of the choosing between truth and error, good and evil, sin and righteousness. So there's still human worlds, there's still human planets, because people say, well, isn't it utopia? Wouldn't that be bad? Because then you wouldn't have any choice of evil. You wouldn't get the learning experience that you need. No, there's still that potential for evil. Anywhere in time and space where you have imperfect evolutionary origin creatures with free will, you have the potential for evil. Okay? So you still have to make choices. Nevertheless, there is certain inevitable penalty attaching to mortal existence on such advanced evolutionary planets. A penalty that we will not have. When a settled world progresses beyond the third stage of light and life, all ascenders are destined, before attaining the minor sector, to receive some sort of transient assignment on a planet passing through the earlier stages of evolution. So they're on their eternal career, but they have to go back and not work as one of the beings in the form of a reincarnation, but have some sort of maybe work with the staff of the planetary sovereign, or there's various other ways that they talk about how you would do that. But they're saying it's required because you have to see what it's like to go through that type of stuff. Okay, each of these successive ages represents advancing achievements in all phases of planetary attainment. In the initial age of light, the revelation of truth was enlarged to embrace the workings of the universe of universes, while the deity study of the second age is the attempt to master the protean concepts of nature, mission, ministry, associations, origin, and destiny of the creator sons, the first level of God the sevenfold. So they're super advanced in their spiritual understanding. And you can see why in this next paragraph. A planet the size of Urantia, our planet, when fairly well settled, would have about 100 sub-administrative centers. These subordinate centers would be presided over by one of the following groups of qualified administrators. 1. Young material sons and daughters brought from the system headquarters to act as assistants to the ruling Adam and Eve. So you're having superhuman beings that establish centers. So it's a lot easier to learn and progress. We don't have to get into wars over ideologies and things. We go and ask the, 500,000-year-old beings on the planet who have centers that have been around for that long to help us out. Procreated on the progeny of the semi-mortal staff of the planetary prince who are procreated on certain worlds for this and other similar responsibilities. So another superhuman classification that's helping. The direct planetary progeny of Adam and Eve. That's not how the Bible spells out Adam and Eve. It is not the first beings because they teach evolution as a reality. Materialized and humanized midway creatures. They are like angelic beings that are closer to us than seraphim. Mortals of adjuster fusion status who, upon their own petition, are temporarily exempted from translation by the order of the personalized adjuster of universe chieftainship in order that they may continue on the planet in certain important administrative posts. Those are regular humans that have attained the highest level that a human could, and they stick around to help out. Specially trained mortals of the planetary schools of administration who have also received the order of a supreme service of the Urantia temple. Okay, so that could be like another being, that a regular human that has just attained a really high level of spirituality. Certain elective commissions of 3 properly qualified citizens who are sometimes chosen by the citizenry by direction of the planetary sovereign in accordance with their special ability to accomplish some definite task which is needful in that particular planetary sector. So that could be like maybe the best engineer on the planet or the best computer person on the planet. They're establishing these. See how orderly this all is, folks? It's just so much easier. It would be so much easier. I couldn't even imagine it. We would feel like we were in heaven. If we went to a regular human planet, we would feel like we were in heaven of our traditions. They're communicating with advanced celestial beings here on the planet. They have centers of learning and all of that. I couldn't even imagine. You don't have to lock your door or fear which war is going to break out. Do I have to hunker in a hospital that's going to get bombed because they're doing civilian bombing today? The great handicap confronting Urantia in the matter of attaining the high planetary destiny of light and life is embraced in the problems of dis-ease, degeneracy, war, multicolored races, and multilingualism. So let's break that down. Disease, we perpetuate disease because of our lifestyle, which has been, there's a restaurant on every single corner. There's an advertisement for this heart disease causing food every single second of the day. So that is really hard to become spiritual when you're dealing with medical bills, lying in a hospital. Oh, so-and-so sick, Now, degeneracy is, you can think of that as something like your sociopath, your psychopath, these violent tendency genes, which our scientists know are handed down. And they know that it's roughly 50% nature and 50% nurture, which would cause somebody to be a violent criminal. If you are just a sociopath, this isn't a stigma for you, because if you were raised in a loving family, then that 50% nurture will override. There's many sociopaths or psychopaths that do very well in society because they have that loving home life. Even still, if you said, hey, my psychiatrist gave me a sociopathic diagnosis and I had a really shitty abusive household, am I destined to be a statistic? No, you can do spirit over mind over matter. So this isn't a stigma for people because you can change your mentality through the use of your spirituality. But it is saying your scientists are correct when they point out the inheritance of these violent tendencies, which are creating more victims. You need to consider that when you are choosing who your mate is going to be. Do you want that mate? Do you want to go into a prison and do a conjugal visit and then potentially have a child who is going to then be another statistic as well? So that is what they're saying about degeneracy. War, obvious. Multicolored races. Now it goes on to say that is a difficulty, but because you didn't do that, it doesn't mean that it's impossible for you to still get to light and life. And we'll read that in the next paper. And multilingualism, all right? We're getting that one. We're close to that one. No evolutionary world can hope to progress beyond the first stage of settledness in light until it has achieved one language, one religion, and one philosophy. Those are imperative, okay? Being of one race greatly facilitates such achievement, but the many peoples of Urantia do not preclude the attainment of higher stages. So that means we don't need to go for this one race idea. And people get that confused when they look at the Urantia book. No, it's saying right there, preclude means it's you don't have to do it. That's what that statement means, okay? You don't have to have one race. You can do it with your multiple races. So don't think this is trying to say we need to go on some sort of, racial freaking campaign or something like that. It's saying that was happening on a normal world. You guys didn't do that, so you got to just do better on these other things, okay? You have to get one religion. You have to get one language and one philosophy. Philosophy is just the mentality aspect of being on the same page. We want truth, beauty, and goodness. We don't want to think that it's good for this number of people to kill that number of people. That's a backwards philosophy. And this degeneracy thing, in fact, Hitler would be somebody who was woven out of the society. That's a degenerate mind, right? Not the people that he thought he was trying to weave out of the society, those good Jewish people or good black people or whatever it is. No, they would be the ones that their genetics should be fostered in the society. He is a degenerate, a backwards, twisted mentality. Okay, so that's one of those topics of the Urantia book that you have to take it into context. All right, folks, well, that's it. The spheres of light and life. And remember, it's all about your own personal ascension. So no matter how backwards our planet is, we can ascend beyond your wildest expectations, and it can start to happen right here, right now. It's all about choosing the will of your higher nature, that divine will that is within you. So thanks again. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.